teachers only use the systems in a minimal fashion. Make all the complication, have the system be the expert, and have the teacher only to put the information and transfer it to the others. And I have more questions. I think I'll leave it to later on. Thank you.
Can I answer those questions first before I get? Okay. Thank you for your questions. About incorporating Gen Z orientation in e-content, whether or not that is harmful to the learning experience of the learners. That is why when we develop the e-content, we need to stress about balancing that. It is all the more reason that it is important for us to incorporate some of the media elements, for example, the media, social media sites. But the e-content must not emulate the language that they use, because we should promote the real knowledge. So the e-content will only or should only consider to incorporate media sites, because these are sites that will engage them, because that's how they operate. But how we deliver that, the language that we use, must not be the texting language that they use. So that is the principle. While we incorporate the media sites, the language must be a formal language, and that's important in the design. Your second question has to do with the teacher's role. You know, when we first started implementing the smart school in Malaysia, we had that problem. We had that assumption that, I'm so sorry. Teachers should just deliver, do minimal role in terms of having to manage, monitor the students' progress, and let the system do that. That was the thinking we had, but we realized that that's really not practical, because teachers have been doing that, only that with technology they are doing it differently using the system. Nobody can monitor the students' progress better than the teacher, except that the system helps the teacher to monitor more expeditiously. She can get the data instead of 1 month, she can get it maybe on the same day, because the LMS, the learning management system, can provide that. But nobody can monitor but her or him, the teacher. I tend to use her because most teachers are female, I'm sorry. Yeah. So that means that upskilling of teachers is very important. And I think a lot of the Ministry of Education hasn't done enough of that. That is upskilling the teachers and upgrading the teacher training curriculum to address the advancement of ICT. And I think that's the problem in Malaysia too. Although we have done the smart school for over a decade now, there's still some kind of resistance in looking at reviewing the teacher training when it comes to ICT. Well, they do have ICT, but it's more ICT literacy. That's not what we're talking about. We are talking about the skills of applying ICT in teaching and learning. In teaching maths, how do you apply your skill? So that's lacking, and I believe that's not unique to Malaysia, that's across many countries.
We'll take one more question before we proceed.
Hi, Dr. Sana Al-Mumin. Thank you for your interesting presentation and research. One question is that you have mentioned that one of the common challenges is lack of interactivity. So, do you think that the technology nowadays does not provide enough interactivity to use? The second question is that I think you have focused most of your research on providing or on providing e-content strategies. And you mentioned the educators and the educators' skills. From your experience in the school that you are teaching or whatever, have you involved the students in the design process? And how do you see how much is that important? Not the educators only, but there is the students as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very good question. On the first question about interactivity, my response will be on the contrary. Technology has advanced for us to actually include a lot more advanced interactivity, but the developers and educators have failed to actually leverage that. That was the point I was making. Users expect different interactivity with different technologies, but the content hasn't been able to optimize that. So it's not a technology problem, it's a people problem. Secondly, in terms of user, particularly the students, yes. When we talk about user, if you look at the different stages of the process standards flow, we have the pre-development, development, and post-development, and we have user feedback. User includes students all throughout. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. والآن ننتقل إلى تجربة أخرى. دكتور أحمد البراك يتفضل في تقديم تجربته وهي بعنوان Integration of Hospital Systems and Medical Education and E-Learning Approach. Dr. Ahmed is Associate Professor in Medical Informatics at College of Medicine, King Saud University. He has Master in Science in Biomedical Engineering and PhD in Health Informatics. Now he is Chairman of Medical Informatics Department and former Director of Computer and Informatics Department and Associate Director of E-Learning. So please welcome Dr. Ahmed. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Actually, I'm going to take you a little bit away from traditional education and take you a little bit into medical education. I'm not sure that most or a lot of you are interested in medical educations, but it's still one discipline that is benefiting from e-learning. And we have a belief and a strategy for e-learning and medical educations, which is slightly introduced and presented in our paper. The work I'm going to present today has been conducted and designed and integrated, built in College of Medicine, King Saud University, which is located in Riyadh, not far away from here. This work started 5 years ago to trying to utilize e-learning to overcome some of the challenges facing medical educations. In the beginning, I'm just going to give you a slight introduction to medical educations, how it little bit differ from traditional educations. And in medical educations, we have different categories. We have what is called basic science. We have preclinical educations, and then we have the clinical educations. This is all come together to bring a doctor, a physician. So it is very important to incorporate whatever tools available for us to produce the best of a future doctors. So everybody is talking for the past 5 years, and maybe the internet is the greatest innovations ever happened for the human being, communications and even laboratories. And we are witnessing day after day the importance of internet and communications in our daily activities, from educations to social, even to political aspects. And we have been witnessing the importance of internet and information and communication technology in medicine and medical educations as well. However, we have been working for the past 5 years in a new model for medical education, trying to locate the students as the core of medical education. So we want to put the students as the core of the education process, not to be the material, not to be the teachers. The students should be the core of the education process. And then trying to eliminate, reduce the amount of teaching. The problem of medical education and education in general is teaching and teaching, and most of you, I'm sure, being myself in different lectures and classes, sitting down, listening, and after 10 minutes, started to play with my mobile or iPhones and get distracted from the lectures and from the lecture contents. And this is what we have done with our students. We've been asking them during lectures, how much did you absorb? And most of them are just giving a rank below 50% absorptions from the traditional lectures, which is face-to-face traditional lectures. So there is a different phases and aspects for education that is going to be changed, which we have considered in our model in the College of Medicine. So first of all, we have looked into our strategy for the education. The strategy, so we have built our strategy, which is putting the students in the core of the educational process and trying to utilize whatever technology, internet, e-learning to support this process, and then using the technology and tools, working in the contents. And the contents in education is very important, as we mentioned. And in medical education, it has more importance, I'm going to show you, because in medical education, contents can be textbooks and can be human beings. The content in medical education has some sensitivity, so we have to introduce our students to live cases. They have to be introduced to patients, to subjects, and these contents are so sensitive and they cannot be played with, or we cannot do any mistakes with our contents. This is why we are trying to work with cautious with our content. And then we have the environmental. We tried very hard to incorporate and integrate most of these mentioned environments, distance, self-paced, integrated. Most of us are talking about e-learning, and e-learning per se is not fully applied in most of our cases, especially in schools. We are using tools for e-learning in the schools. If I'm talking about e-learning, so it means that I'm using a full electronic courses or a full electronic degree. But if we're talking about using e-learning to augment and support me in delivering my subject to my students, this means that we are using integrated model, we are using a blended models. This is not pure electronic education. So what we've been thinking and hoping to reach when we started our strategy, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, is trying to transfer students from being passive to be active. So we want to be the students to be the core of the process. So to be active most of the time, not listener. To be active, trying to make, not to make the teacher as the center, make the student as the center of the education process. And then instead of working on one subject, we can work in multi-subject in the same time. And this is happening, especially in medicine. If you have a case, we cannot tell the student, let's consider only the anatomy. We have to consider the anatomy, the physiology, the biochemistry. All the subject has to be considered in such a case. So we have what's called problem-solved medicine. So we are taking the case with all the subjects. So I cannot tell the students, let's focus only in the anatomy and forget about the physiology and biochemistry and other stuff. So student is not anymore, in our model, we're hoping that student is not anymore dependent on a teacher, neither on anybody else. We